You're listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. Each week, your host, Patti interviews veterinarians and individuals in the pet industry from across the nation answering pet questions. Bark and Wag podcast is produced weekly for your enjoyment, and show notes can be found at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. That's BARKNWAG.com. Please remember to subscribe to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. Bark and Wag is dedicated to protecting our dogs through advocacy, education, and supporting like-minded dog lovers by selling custom pet products. Bark and Wag is excited to announce our new partnership with a Colorado hemp farm to produce a line of CBD products for your pets. Bark and Wag has CBD pet tincture available in 300, 750, 1200, and 2400 milligrams. Bark and Wag CBD is pet safe, no THC, it's made in the USA, and is CO2 extracted. Please check out Bark and Wag's website, barkandwag.com. That is BARK, to see our line of CBD and awesome merchandise. We love pooch ideas for podcasts and merchandise, so anytime send an email to Polly at barkandwag.com with your suggestions.
Welcome to Bark and Wag 15-Minute Vet Talk. I'm your host, Patti. Today we're talking to Patti, certified canine massage therapist with Pawsitive Healing Touch out of Colorado. Welcome, Patti.
Hi, how are you doing today? Thank you for having me.
Yeah, thanks for being back on the podcast. So we had a listener send a email through barkandwag.com website, and she wanted to know her black lab is severely arthritic in her back legs, and wanted to know what, as a certified canine massage therapist, you would do to help relieve that pain.
Oh, of course. What a great question. Well, of course, it's always a good idea to go and see your vet to rule out any underlying condition. But the one thing I would want to do is try to make her dog feel more comfortable by massaging those sore muscles and joints and just helping to increase the range of motion. I think a lot of people don't realize that a dog naturally carries 60% of their body weight in the front. And then when their back legs are sore from arthritis or just an injury, they overcompensate a lot on the front, which causes sore shoulders and elbows because they are now doing all the work. So I always like to work on the whole body because if they hurt in the back, they almost always hurt in the front from working so hard. So yeah, massage and stretching can help relieve a lot of that pain.
And how often do you work with a dog that's arthritic?
Well, I would recommend starting, once a week for a few weeks, and then once we can help them build that range of motion and just get those joints a little more flexible, then we could go to every other week and then maybe a once a month maintenance.
Are dogs exhausted after having massage?
They are. Yeah, it's quite funny. It's quite funny to see. I had a massage last week and, kind of typical. The dog came in and was going and laying on the bed, circling a little bit, and then came back. And, I started my thing, working on the shoulders and going from there. And by the end, he's laying on the bed and I could not get him to get up off the bed. I've been offering him treats to go outside. And so, yeah, it is pretty rewarding to see that. I have a good example actually of a dog who doesn't always love it. I have a border collie and she is 16. Her name's Coco, but she is very stiff in her hind legs, and she's always been one of those that she doesn't always like to be touched. It's always on her terms. So massaging her hasn't always been easy, but she realizes that she feels better after, so she will now allow me to do a full massage, and she even knows the command, okay, other side, and she'll stand up, turn around, and then lay on the other side. So, yeah, don't get me wrong. She still will give me a little growl if she doesn't like what I'm doing if I get to a sore spot. But at the end, she stretches out both her front and back legs and then gives me a lick on my hands to tell me thank you. So, yeah, even if they don't always love it, like they tolerate it because they know it's going to make them feel better. But most of the time, they love it just like we do.
Oh, that's a riot. So how if listeners were interested in searching for a certified canine massage therapist in their area, where would they start? Where do you start?
I would start by searching for someone who's certified, because you want somebody who, knows what they're doing and isn't going to hurt your dog. But also you want to look for somebody who's passionate about what they do. The reason I still do this is because I love building that bond with these dogs and seeing them feel better.
So how do people get a hold of you in the Colorado area?
You can go on my website, PawsitiveHealingTouch.com. You can go on my Instagram or email me at positivehealingtouch@gmail.com. And I do massages out of Littleton at the Colorado Pet Alliance building. And I just started doing mobile massages for those dogs that are not comfortable traveling anymore, or maybe they have a little anxiety from going to a new place. So lots of options for me to reach out to them.
Great. Well, thank you for being on the podcast, and we look forward to having you back.
Thank you so much for having me. Enjoy the rest of your afternoon.
Thank you for listening to Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk. If you like what you just heard, we hope you'll pass along our web address, www.barkandwag.com, to your friends and other pet owners. Have a pressing question for a veterinarian? Ask your question at barkandwag.com under the podcast tab. This has been a KFR production. Join us next time for another edition of Bark and Wag's 15-Minute Vet Talk.